Let's look at these two sentences. I'm going to leave one word off, and I want you to say it aloud as though you're saying the sentence. First sentence is, we had a with the time. The second sentence is, I hope it won't with my schedule. So this word can go in both of these sentences, but in the first sentence, the word is being used as a noun. So when we say this word as a noun, we stress on the first syllable. It sounds like we had a conflict with the time. Conflict. And so you can hear in conflict, we have a clear ah vowel for letter O. That's because when the letter O is in the stressed syllable, it typically will say the ah sound, conflict. Now let's try this one. I hope it won't with my schedule. So now we're using this word as a verb, and we're going to have second syllable stress. So we're no longer going to have a clear vowel, conflict. We're going to change to conflict. And so you can see that, let's see if I can spell it correctly. I need an L here, conflict. As I stress on flict, that's where my clear vowel is going to be, and my letters C-O-N no longer say con. Now they have just a reduced vowel, schwa, which sounds like or it's almost entirely gone. So I write it with no vowel at all, conflict, because it's so short and reduced on that vowel sound. So conflict, noun, conflict, verb. And if you use one of these, the noun or the verb, more than the others, you may have a tendency to use one pronunciation in both cases. Rather than saying conflict, you might also say, I hope it won't conflict with my schedule, rather than conflict. So it's really helpful to examine these words that can be used as a noun or a verb, and know that the pattern is typically for the noun, we have first syllable stress, and for the verb, we have second syllable stress. This isn't true for all nouns and verbs, and it's not even true for all nouns and verbs that have the same spelling or the same word. Some of them are just going to be one pronunciation and one rhythm, but I'm going to go through a few other examples where we have first syllable stress for the noun and second syllable stress for the verb to show you that this is a pretty consistent pattern in English. I'm also going to create a lesson for you and a download where you can find a list of these words so that you can practice and make sure you're using them correctly. Let's try another one. So we had conflict, conflict. Now I want to look at this word here. I'm not going to say it because I want you to say it as I fill in the blank. So be ready to say it here. In the first version, are you going to the call? One more time. Are you going to the call? So here we're using it as a verb. And now let's try the other way. I have no of that procedure. I have no of that procedure. So here we're using it as a noun. So if we apply our rule, for a verb, we want to be stressing on the second syllable. So rather than having a long clear vowel in the first syllable for the RE, we're going to have it be reduced vowel. It's going to sound like R. So rather than re or re, it's going to be a short little r, record. Cord is going to be my clear vowel and where my length is. Are you going to record the call? Are you going to record the call? So record, I'm very short here on that first syllable. Versus, as a noun, I have no record of that purchase. So it sounds quite different, doesn't it? Record and record. What am I doing there? In record, I'm using first syllable stress. My letter E is going to have the eh sound like in red, record. And notice that my second syllable changes as well. Now it's going to be reduced, and it's going to be record, I'm going to lose my or that I had in the clear syllable. Record, the letters OR say or. But when OR is unstressed in an unstressed syllable, a lot of times those letters will say the sound instead. So rather than or, when it's stressed, it's just going to say So we have record, record. So again, you might be doing something a little bit in between, trying to use an or there where you don't need one, or trying to use a re or re here in this first unstressed syllable. Let's try the sentences one more time. Are you going to record the call? I have no record of that purchase. So these words sound quite different. When you're used to using them, that might be one that you've already used in the past. You don't even think about the fact that it's written the same way. But as you're reading and speaking, being aware that there are two different pronunciations depending on how the word is used can be really helpful. Let's look at a couple of more examples, and as you have questions about this topic or any other topic, do feel free to put those in the chat or the comments at any time. This is a live class, and I'll be taking your questions for pronunciation, intonation, fluent speaking, whatever is going to be useful for you. It can be about this topic or something else as well. Let's do another example. And again, I'm not going to say this word for you to start. I want you to be thinking about how it might work in these two sentences. So say it aloud with me. Please me to explain. Please me to explain. Okay, so here we're using this word as a verb, and here we're going to use it as a noun. You need a to park here. We're using this word. You need a to park here. So let's check how you did and whether or not you were able to apply that rule of the verb having the first syllable stress, the noun having the second syllable stress. So in the verb, please, verb having second syllable stress and noun having first syllable stress. Sorry to confuse you. So second syllable, please permit me to explain. So we have a short little per, and then mit, it has my long, clear vowel. Permit me. Please permit me to explain. Versus, you need a permit to park here. So in this version, there's no change to the vowel sounds, but the change happens on the vowel length, how long I hold it. So in permit, mit is nice and long and clear, and per is going to be very short, permit. And in permit, per is long and mit is short, permit. So a word like this one is trickier because nothing else is changing, unlike record and record, where my vowel sounds change. In permit and permit, it's really just about how long I'm holding each of those syllables. The vowel sounds are the same. So what you want to avoid is sometimes you may feel that you're doing just permit, equal stress and equal length on those syllables. Please permit me. You need a permit to. You don't want that. You really want to have that contrasting length of short, long, and long, short for the noun and for the verb. So again, that part, the rhythm is always going to change. The vowels will also sometimes change, like we had in record and record. Let's take a look at a couple other words for this. So another word we have. So you can just think about how it might be as a noun and how it might be as a verb. I find it easier to put it into use, to put it into an actual sentence. So let's try for the verb. So we need to verb to solar energy. Okay, so we need to solar energy. So for this one, as a verb, as we said, second syllable stress. So we're going to have, again, letter C-O-N, losing their vowel, just being that short little schwa sound, kun. And then vert will be longer and clearer. We need to convert to solar energy. Let's convert the people. Let's convert the chargers. And then if we're going to use it as a noun, this one's a little less frequent, so you may just have this one stored in your mind. But someone who converts is called a convert. So now, just like we had before, instead of kun, we're going to have letter O saying the ah vowel, first syllable stress in the noun. So I'm a convert to healthy eating. I'm a convert to that lifestyle. There were many converts to the religion. So again, we have a change in the vowel sounds and the length of the syllable stress. Many other words like this we have, for example, suspect and suspect, project and project. So as I mentioned before, I do have some resources for that here on the channel, and I'll be creating a download that you can use, which I'll attach to this video later, to have a long list of these nouns and verbs and some practice sentences so you can try it out and feel natural using that rhythm. So feel free to ask questions about that topic, or lost track of my other whiteboard, about that topic, about pronunciation of words, whatever you'd like to cover today. You can leave a comment if you're watching this later on, or leave me put a chat now in the live chat. And I'll turn to your questions now. Nice to see so many of you here, and welcome to some of our channel members. We do offer channel memberships, so you can get access to our videos earlier and some other perks at the online course level, access to our online courses as well. So our channel member is asking about what is syllabic L. So great question. So syllabic means it functions as a syllable. So words have syllables. So for example, in the syllable, in the word filling, I have two syllables, fill and ing. This syllable is stressed and this syllable is unstressed. This L is just part of this syllables. So a syllable always has to have a vowel sound at a minimum. So for example, the word I is a one-syllable word, and the vowel that has the vowel sound I. It can also have a vowel plus a consonant, like no, one consonant sound and one vowel sound. It can have a consonant, vowel, and consonant, like yes, y, s, three sounds and one syllable. So the exception to the rule of the syllable having to have at least a vowel sound is something called a syllabic L. We also have a syllabic N. Those are our most common types of syllabic sounds. And the L or the N can function as a syllable even though there's no vowel. So for example, in the word table, bull, I'm going right from the b to that ul sound. I'm not saying table. There's no vowel before the L. So the syllabic L sounds like a vowel and a consonant together. Bull, ul. So basically it's that dark L that I'm making, which has kind of the built-in sound, like in good or book. So even though we just write L and we're really only saying one sound, ul, this counts as a vowel, vowel plus consonant. And so in some words like table, little, Seattle, we're not doing a clear vowel before the L. We're just doing the L. But because the L, ul, is a continuing sound, it can function as a vowel. So that's all it means. It just means that the syllable consists of only the ul sound, and we make it a little bit differently than we do the light L at the start of words. So when I was saying filling, ling, my back of my tongue can do whatever I want. The front of the tongue lifts. In table, ul, I can lift the front of my tongue to touch, or I can just make it by lifting the back of my tongue into this position, ul, and letting air off the sides. So that's what a syllabic L is. Same thing happens with the N. Syllabic N might be, for example, in a word like reason. I'm not really saying a clear vowel here. It's not like sun, reason, zin. I'm really just going from the z to the n sound, and the n functions as the full syllable. First syllable first syllable re and second syllable zn, no vowel. The n just functions as the vowel. I do have videos for syllabic n and syllabic l on the channel. So if you leave me a comment after class, I'll make sure that I link that for you in the description and in the comments, so you can check out that video as well. I also talk about those sounds, syllabic N and syllabic L, in my Sounds of English course. So if you're an online course or higher channel member, you can get access to that course for free. All you need to do is send me a quick email to Christine@speechmodification.com, so I know your email address so I can sign you up for it. If you're a basic member, that's not one of the perks that's included, but it's an inexpensive course that you can purchase online as well. Thank you for being a channel member and for being here this morning. Okay, we have a question about in-person classes. I do offer one-on-one training, and you can check that out on speechmodification.com. My other online courses are video courses where you work through the lessons on your own, but there are discussions there, and I do read comments and support my students who are doing the independent online courses as well. Okay, we have a question about the word petrichor. So I think it's petrichor. Let's do a quick check. So I always like to keep an online dictionary or paper dictionary handy. This one's Merriam-Webster's, because you might have an idea of a pronunciation, and sometimes I think I know, but I always like to have a reference to double check. So for petrichor, I believe it has the F vowel to start. So we're under pedagogue, phenomenon. I went too far. Online dictionaries are great because you can click on it and listen, and you don't need to be able to read the symbols. Paper dictionary is handy for when I'm doing a live class. So checking petrichor. Oops, I went too far again. Pedagogue, petroleum, petri dish. Sorry. Thanks for your patience as I look it up. Yeah, so I'm seeing the petra prefix, but unfortunately petrichor doesn't seem to be in this dictionary. So why don't I get back to you? I'm going to give you what I know off the top of my head, and then we'll double check. But I believe it's petrichor with the eh vowel. CH says the k sound, and we have the true or for that, so it sounds like petrichor. Petrichor. Not sure why that's not in the dictionary. Might be in an online dictionary, so I can check that later for you. But thanks for that question. And then we had another one that I might need to look up, which is rapprochement. So this one comes from the French. In French, rapprochement. In English, rapprochement, second syllable stress. So because it's stressed on the second syllable, letters RA are going to be a reduced schwa vowel. So pro. And then here, CH is going to actually say the CH sound, ch. And then we have our ment, short schwa there. So I would write that like approach, like roach or coach, ment. Almost no vowel there at the end, rapprochement. That is something that I do think sometimes gets used with the French pronunciation in English, but typically you want to stick with the English pronunciation for ease of being understood by English speakers. Thank you for being here again. Nice to see you again this week. And we have a question about benefit as a noun and a verb. So great. Thank you for bringing up this example. So this is one where it doesn't change between first or second syllable stress like record and record. So both as a noun, I saw the benefit of that versus I hope to benefit from this. Nobody benefits when that problem happens. Same pronunciation for both. So first syllable stress here, benefit. We have the vowel in the first syllable, and then either an or an very reduced vowel in the second syllable, and an in the second syllable, last syllable, benefit. I do think that noun verb stress is typically restricted to when there's two syllables, so two syllable nouns and verbs. And as I said, it doesn't happen even for all of those. There's some that stay the same. And benefit stays the same for both noun and verb. Thank you for that question on topic. And we have a question about, in a word like shell or fell, you find that your sound tends to go too open to more of an sound. When is when is followed by a darker L, how do we maintain the So I think sometimes when you notice a problem, like if you're trying to say fell or shell, and it's coming out like fell, it may be that you're opening too far, and I think it's probably partially because of these L's. So I have two suggestions for you. One is to use another word that has an F vowel and really try to match. So for example, using met, fell, get, fell, said, fell, so that you're trying to match fe, se with that other word. Also trying it without the L, so another word like fest, fell, fest, fell, keeping that the same. And since the L is the challenge, another approach to this is doing it intentionally with the vowel. So do foul, and feel how the shape of your mouth is, foul, and then close a little bit, foul, fell, fell. So I think for this and L combination, L, the tongue is fairly flat for foul, ow. I have to lift my tongue in the back more and then drop it for the L. So I would say you're probably needing to just keep the tongue more flat, L, L, and try to just lift to finish that L using kind of more of a front L. Another suggestion I have is use another vowel. So practice first with fell-in, where you're just basically doing fell-in, fell-in, and then drop the in, fell-in, fell. Because when you're doing this, the L really jumps to a front L on the lin, and you can keep your sound the same. So those would be a few different tricks that you could try. Nice to see you here, Undead Heart. Thanks for that interesting question. I'm sure some other people struggle with that as well, not just you. And there's a lot of words like fell, sell, well. It's an important combination to be able to do correctly. Okay, welcome everyone. Nice to see so many of you here this morning. We have a question about the word love. So in the word love, the letter O doesn't say an O, it actually says an sound. So it's the same that we would have in a word like summer, as we spell it with U. Lots of words have letter O as schwa, so another example would be some love, and you can see how this word some is pronounced the same as this word some. So I need to do some sums. The sound is just nice and flat. It's a central vowel versus an O. O would be rounded, so you don't want that. And you might see sometimes people writing this as love to be cute in a text or on a Valentine's heart. So you can visualize it this way if that's helpful for you to get the correct vowel, love. Also using another word with the sound, much love, some love, summer love, to be able to match that sound of the vowel schwa that's in love. Very important word to be able to say correctly. Thanks for being here and nice to meet you, nice to see you. Let's see. Okay, we have a question about foot versus food. So let's look at how to pronounce foot and food. Even though these are both spelled with letters OO, the word foot has the vowel. I call that the good book vowel. And the word food has the vowel. I call that the new shoe vowel. So most of the time when you see letters OO, it will say oo like in food or room, etc. That vowel is tense and round. Ooh, the back of my tongue is very high. And you probably have an oo sound in your native language. But your native language may not have the sound. And the difference here in is that my tongue is a little bit lower and my lips are not quite as pursed. So when I'm saying food, ooh, I'm really round and high. When I'm saying like foot, I do still have some lip rounding, but my tongue is lower. So one thing I like to do with this vowel is show you some other words that are spelled differently so that you're not confused by the letters OO. So for example, put and foot have the same vowel sound. So you can practice put your foot versus something like new food. Those both have the oo vowel. So the difference is basically if we look at the vowel quadrangle, these are both back here in the high back vowels. They're both rounded. The oo is tense. Ooh, my tongue is as high as possible. And then the is lax and the tongue is a little bit lower. So for foot, put your foot, good foot. You can use words like should and push to help you get that vowel. And then for ooh, food, new food, food in the room, too much food can help you get that oo sound. This contrast and these two vowels I just recently covered, or I'm going to be covering the vowel soon. The oo vowel video came out today on my new channel, Pronounce English Speech. You can check that out on that channel page, and on our channel page here, I have a link to it as well. I'm going through all of the vowels of English on that new channel because I'm trying to really build you some strong foundations and building blocks and review information that I also have in my online course, The Sounds of English. So words like foot versus food are really, useful words to focus in on to correct those two vowels and to get ideas and examples of other words that have those sounds. I do, as I mentioned, cover that in great detail in our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com as well. Thank you. That was an excellent question. Okay, nice to see so many of you here this morning. Do feel free to put your questions in the chat or later on if you're watching the replay, leave me a comment because I do go back over my videos and answer all of the questions in the comments, give you resources from the channel here and on our website. Okay, yes, so let's do another example of noun and verb. I want to use the word suspect. So for example, we'll do I'm not going to say it. I'll let you say it. The dog did it. So here we're using this word as a verb. So as a reminder, for a hint, in this case, we're going to have second syllable stress for the verb. And then our next sentence, we're going to use it as a noun. So the noun, first syllable stress. The blank was taken for questioning. Okay, so this is one where you might not use this that much in spoken English, or you may have a tendency to use just one pronunciation. So for the verb, I suspect My sus is going to be very short and reduced, and then my actually spect is going to be long and clear. So suspect, suspect. Versus the suspect, we're going to, again, the vowels won't change. Suspect, I'm just writing a K for the K sound. And my sus is going to be long and my pect is going to be short. So let's listen to both sentences. I suspect the dog did it. Suspect. The suspect was taken for questioning. Suspect. So noun, first syllable stress, verb, second syllable stress. I think that looking at that pattern is one of the more consistent rules. Doesn't work for every single noun and verb, but we do have a tendency to have first syllable stress in nouns and second syllable stress in verbs. Okay, wonderful. We have a question about, let's see. Not too many questions today, but a lot of you here, so don't hold back if you have something you'd like me to talk about. If you have a question or comment, I'll go on to talking about a couple other topics so that we have a little bit more going on in this class, but feel free to put your questions in at any time and I'll address those. So I want to talk about on Tuesday, I have a new video coming out. So I'll give you a little sneak preview. We're going to be talking about the phrases have to and has to and how the pronunciation of these changes. We talked about use to and used to this week. And it's very helpful to look at how, even though when we use the verb use, we have the Z sound, and used, we have the Z sound, in these two phrases, they both become used to. I used to do that. We need to, I didn't used to do that. And also, both of these sound the same. So even though we make a difference if I'm saying I use the verb and I use it, I used it, they have the Z sound and a clear difference. In this particular combination, it functions together, and because the T is voiceless, these Z sounds change to S sound. So you can check out that video. It's already on the channel and it uploaded on Tuesday, but we're going to be talking about a similar phenomenon in have to and has to, that in fluent speech, we actually don't say a V sound here, have to. It changes more to have to. So we reduce the to a t, and that V changes to an F. Same thing with has to, it becomes more has to. So I would never write these in written speech, written words, it's have to and has to with the full form. But as we're speaking, when we add that to, that voiceless sound, to be fluent and natural, you have to use at least the have to. We lose that V and it becomes an F. And we lose that Z in has and it becomes an S. So it's an interesting phenomenon that is formal, professional, and natural. So I'm looking forward to that video coming out on Tuesday. It's going to walk you through these two patterns and help you to use them naturally and fluently in your speech. So check that out on the channel coming up on Tuesday. Okay, and also coming up tomorrow, or I believe today, we had the video for oo on the new channel, and we'll soon have the video for probably next weekend as well. Okay, thank you for, we have the word countenance, and whether or not that's used as a noun or verb. So I'm not familiar with how we could use that as a verb. But it would be the same. So yeah, maybe I can't countenance that or your countenance. Not a super commonly used word, but again, because it's longer, more syllables, it'll have the same stress pattern. So we're going to stress on the first syllable for both the noun and verb if it's used for both. So countenance, a couple of different ways native speakers will pronounce this. One, they might use a syllabic N here, in which case it'll sound like count. We'll leave that T as an unreleased T, countenance, and then kind of a short little there, countenance. Or when there's an NT like this, the other option is to truly say that T, then it'll sound like countenance. So in both cases, the nunce, that can be written with an I or a U, it's a schwa, very reduced vowel. We're going to have very little vowel there. Nunce, it's always going to be that syllabic N at the end. But I can either do it with a true T, countenance, or countenance. I have a video for the word maintenance where I walk through these options as well, so I'll try to remember to put a reference to that in the description after class, so you can check that out in a little bit more detail. The tenance is the tricky part of both countenance and maintenance. Thank you for that question. Okay. We have a question about why sometimes people pronounce beautiful like beautiful. Yes, so we typically do in American English, and that's because when we have a T in the middle of words followed by an unstressed syllable, we don't typically say it as an aspirated T, true T. We use what's called a flap. So flap is used for the T and the D sounds in the middle of words in English. So beautiful is a great example. Beautiful, where that's a symbol for a flap T. It'll sound like beautiful. So I'm not truly doing a D here. If I were, it would sound like beautiful, a strong stopping of the air and bursting out, beautiful. All I'm doing there is actually lifting my tongue to the spot for the T and the D, lightly tapping it up and bringing it back down. The reason I write it with a D is that it's a voiced sound, beautiful, but I'm not building up any air pressure like I do for a T or a D. I'm just tapping up and releasing. Some other languages use the flap for the R sound, so it's like one roll of a rolled R. The front of the tongue lifts and drops. Beautiful. So for some speakers, thinking of it as an R can be helpful. For others, that's just going to confuse you, so don't worry about that. But that's why we use beautiful, beauty, water, etc. It's followed by unstressed syllables, and the T is just flapped in the middle of words in American English. British English, more typical, beautiful, they'll use that true T even in the middle and the ends of words. You can get more help for the flap sound in my videos for that here on the channel and in our Sounds of English course. I walk you through all the places we use the flap, how we spell it, and how to pronounce it easily and naturally in fluent speaking. But it's a major part of sounding like a native speaker of American English, so it's one of the elements that doesn't really matter for being understood, but it's very noticeable if you're not using it. So it's something that can help with fluent speaking and sounding more like a native speaker if that's a goal that you have. Okay, we have a question about the relaxed in good and book, and you feel that sometimes it drifts to more of an in some dialects in American English. Okay, so if I'm looking at a word like book, the difference between the vowel and the schwa, the relaxed sound, is the placement. So if I'm looking at my tongue is higher and lifted in the back. For the my tongue is much flatter. So if I was saying something like buck, we do have a word buck that has the schwa versus book. One of the things you can notice is that rounding the lips is important in the vowel versus I'm very unrounded, nothing's happening in my lips, and my tongue is just resting in the bottom. My jaw is a little bit more open, versus Actually, I would say my jaw is somewhat open for the as well, but the back of my tongue is much higher for The front of my tongue is down. So for the sound, my tongue is on a tilt. For the sound, my tongue is just flat. Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm thinking, something macro. Heard relaxed drift in some dialects. Yeah, okay, so give me a book. Give me a book. Yeah, so that could be a regional dialect that does happen in American English. I would try to just stick with the sound generally, unless you feel like it's important for fitting in your region. But yeah, that's the difference between those two. Yeah, good question. Thank you. And thanks for checking your notes. And some days I only have time for one question from each person, and today there's many of you here but fewer questions, so feel free to ask multiple questions if that's useful for you. Okay, thank you for your support, and I will keep going. I really enjoy these Saturday classes, and your questions help me know what new videos to create and which directions to take the channel in. So always feel free to leave your comments and feedback. I welcome that, and you're a big important part of the channel. The subscribers, viewers, channel members. I couldn't do it without your support. So thanks so much for being here this morning. Okay, we have a question about, yeah, okay, she's saying she mostly hears it in good. Yeah, so I would say for good, 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 good. Probably doesn't go all the way to good, maybe somewhere in between the and the and it's probably just because, you know, good times. We're sometimes using good. Like if I'm saying that would be good, and I'm stressing on it, I have more time for that vowel. Generally, almost all of the vowels have somewhat of a reduced version in fast and fluent speech. So I would say it's a good thing. It may change and be a little bit more lax. It's already a lax vowel, but it may change position a little bit. Yeah, so interesting observation. I'll have to listen for that as well. Okay, I'm wondering if you have the question about how to pronounce good woman, or that could be a comment, but we'll take it as a question. So good, we were just talking about that vowel, so we do have the sound, and then woman also has the sound at the beginning, and then man, basically a syllabic N or a schwa for man. So there's no there's no man sound in woman. It's just a little schwa. So I would think of that as good, or you can think good. Usually this spelling makes the most sense. Just avoid trying to do that tense oo sound. And then I'll write that with a U, man, woman. So the just keep the roundedness of the W and keep the tongue high for the vowel. So she's a good woman. Often people also ask about women. This one's another confusing spelling. Doesn't sound like men, and it doesn't have any sort of O vowel there. It's actually women. So we have the I sound in both. Women. And again, the min here is very short, similar to the schwa there, but because we have the I in the first syllable, women. So you can use another word with the I vowel to help you, like I'm with the women, and she's a good woman. Yeah, definitely words that are confusing because they're spelled like man and men, which have the a and f vowels, but woman and women have different vowel sounds. Okay. Common mistakes students make and what everyone should pay attention to. Best way to teach a kid how to read English words. Okay, so I do have some videos here on the channel about the most common mistakes that people don't know about. So for example, in individual words, I'd say it's things like says, where the spelling looks like the word say, but the sounds are actually the, like in red, like says. So if you're teaching a younger person about English, depends on their exposure. If they've learned English from hearing it, they're probably going to just need to learn to spell says this way. So little kids in the US who are surrounded by English, when they're first trying to write a word like says, they might write it this way because that's what they're hearing. If someone is learning English from reading, what they're going to need to know is how that this word doesn't follow our spelling rules and conventions. So looking at sounds and recognizing that sounds and letters are different. In English, we don't have one-to-one correspondence. So we have letter A. Most of the time, it's going to say ah. It's rarely going to say ah, like father. So that's one of the patterns I would recommend learning. Learning what the typical letter sound is for each letter in when it's by itself or when it's with two vowel sounds. So for example, letter A by itself usually says ah like cat. It does have some exceptions. It says ah in father. And when it's with two vowels like AI or AY, it says the A diphthong, like in rain or day. So I do have some lessons about looking at the sounds and spelling. And what I suggest is that you think about what that letter, if you have the same alphabet in English and you use these characters for your letters, most other languages use letter A to say the ah sound. So you're going to be biased to think of ah rather than ah when you see the letter A. Or for example, letter E, most languages say eh for that, for words that are spelled with that letter, and we say eh in English. So learning kind of what the typical spelling patterns are, and then there's a lot of memorization for learning the exceptions to the rules. So having a way to think of the sounds in the word as separate from the letters in the word can be really helpful. Generally, for accent errors, it's usually about using the sounds from your native language and following the rules of sounds in your native language instead of learning and following the rules of English pronunciation. So that's something you can build up over time by looking at individual words and also looking at patterns in your speech. One of the resources I have on my website, speechmodification.com, are some free downloads where you can look up your native language and it'll list for you the most typical accent error patterns so you can learn which sounds to focus on when you're trying to speak English and to correct those. Those are available for free on my website, and also they're incorporated into my American Accent 6-week course, so that can be a helpful resource for you as well. So generally speaking, most non-native speakers make pronunciation errors based on their native language. They make rhythm errors. They make errors because of the way words are spelled, and then just kind of the fluent speaking, how they're connecting and linking words. So I do have a video here on the channel as well for the most common error or where I would suggest to start based on your native language, and that's another resource that you might find helpful. So it's different depending on your native language, your level of English, etc., in terms of what to focus on, but there are many common errors that cut across all native languages as well. Thank you for that question. I hope I helped you answer it, even though it was pretty broad. Okay. How is stress different from intonation in American English? So intonation is made up of stress, and stress consists of duration and pitch changes. So intonation is about rhythm and pitch, and stress is just one of the tools we use within intonation. So I have stressed syllables and stressed words. Those tend to be longer in duration and to have clear vowels. Then intonation also includes pitch patterns, so rising and falling intonation patterns. Sometimes I use these a little bit interchangeably, but intonation is the whole category of everything to do with expressing meaning through pitch, duration, a vowel, etc., etc. And stress is usually indicating something that's held longer and has a clear vowel versus something that's not stressed is going to be shorter and may be reduced. Yeah, good question. Thank you. So yes, we have a question about whether or not, so some words like wowing or wit, bold voices detecting an R sound. So Yeah, so if you're saying basically what you're noticing is that your app is telling you when you're saying a w sound, it's hearing a r sound. So if you couldn't see my mouth, w, r, w, r, you can hear how they both are gliding sounds. So when I'm doing the w, I'm doing kind of an oo to glide, r. It's a continuing sound. It doesn't really glide or connect anywhere. So yeah, that could be just an artifact of speech recognition problems, or it could be that something to do with this schwa when you're doing w might be getting a little bit too tense, like wow, 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 wow. Yeah, I think it may be that your w is a little bit distorted, or it may be that the app is bad at detecting that difference. Some teachers teach lip rounding for the R, which I think is bad. So maybe you're doing a little bit of, well, that would be in reverse if you had the R coming out like W. Yeah, not sure. That would be something I would maybe need to hear you saying it, and I could see what your mouth is doing and give you a little bit better feedback on that one. Yeah, just I would say with your w sound, it may be how if when you're going from w to ow, wow, that you might not be closing again for the w, wow. Often W plus rounded vowels or W plus O words give people some trouble in connecting from the W to the vowel. So it may have something to do with the vowel as well. Although you did say it happened in wit as well. So yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, we have a question about the word but and bought. So again, here we have the schwa, the stressed schwa sound, like and here we have ah, the rounded open back vowel, bought. So you can think this one has, sometimes we spell that with AW, like in saw or law. Your jaw should be more open for the ah, and your lips are slightly round. The is more flat, no lip rounding. So another strategy, as I've mentioned before, is use another word that has these vowels. So for example, a word like, I have some but not many. Using bug and but, keeping that sound the same. And then I saw what you bought. I bought a dog. Matching two vowels there for that sound. So recognizing what vowels you're trying to do, and then keeping the flat and central and the more open in the back and with some lip rounding. Yeah, good question. Thank you. You can get help from both of those vowels in my videos here on the channel, as well as in our Sounds of English course, and vowel contrasts like those two. I have a minimal pairs playlist that looks at words where only the vowel is different, and you might find that helpful as well. Okay, let's see. We have a question about should and look, and do they have the same vowel sound? Yes. So should and look both have the vowel that we've been talking about in class today, and that I'll be covering in detail on the Pronounce English Speech channel next weekend. So even though this one is spelled with OU and an L, and this one is spelled with OO, they are the same. So same as we were talking about with good and book, or put your foot. I should look. And should is a great word to work on with this vowel, because when I do the sh, my lips tend to have a little bit of rounding, and so they're in a good shape for that lax, somewhat rounded vowel, should. I should look. It's a good book. I should read the book. I should look at the book. Yeah, same vowel. Very good question. Thank you. Okay. Yes. Okay. So wonderful questions today, and it's so nice to see so many of you here. I hope that I addressed everything that you were asking about. And as I mentioned before, a lot of free resources on my website, speechmodification.com, that you can check out. Videos here on the channel for some of these topics. And you can also check out our online courses. They walk you through, in our Sounds of English course, all of the English sounds. In our American Accent 6-week course, we look at a lot of the details of pronunciation and intonation and how to practice to change your speech. And then for those of you who are a little bit more advanced, you'll probably like our Real Talk course. It looks at linking and reductions and how to have that fluent sound. We also have many videos for that here on the channel. So it's been great to see all of you today. Thank you so much for your questions and comments. If you're watching as a replay, feel free to leave a comment and I'll get back to you with resources. And as I said, I have a new video coming out Tuesday for hasta and hafta, so check that out on Tuesday when it comes out. I'll see you next Saturday for our next live class. Thanks so much for liking, subscribing, commenting. All of those things really help the channel to grow, and I appreciate your support. And a special shout out to our channel members. Thanks so much for being a member. If you want to check that out, you can click on the join button and see the different perks that we offer, especially getting access to our videos early and some of our members only content. Thanks everyone. It's been a wonderful class today. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye everyone. Thanks for a great class.